anthropological look at spiritual texts, especially in this time when there's so much beauty written about the crucifixion. I was at Rancho, the Church of the Nativity in Rancho Santa Fe yesterday. They actually have an entire Baroque quartet, unbelievable, with singers from the LA Master Choral, unbelievable, singing a beautiful piece. And then they, from that beautiful, was amazing. And they spent about almost an hour in just enjoying and singing, and it was just stunningly beautiful. Adrienne was there, she knows. And from that, we went to, very quickly, without my recognizing, we went to came the priest, smiling abundantly. I smiled back at him. We kneeled for a minute, and he was heading off to the Stations of the Cross. And so if you're in a Christian or Catholic tradition, the Stations of the Cross are, you go to each station, right, and you say prayers at that station, and a little part of the story of Jesus' life, and then death and resurrection is told. And I sat through the music very comfortably, and I could kneel very comfortably, because I know we're all just like bowing, right? We're kneeling to the same things, right? To kindness, to peace, to love, to compassion. So no problem. But then we went to do the Stations of the Cross, and I recognized that I started to constrict there. Now, by the way, I was raised Catholic loosely, very unlike most Catholics, right? Ding, ding, ding. My mother was a 17-year-old pregnant teen who had to already let go of some of the ideas, right? Otherwise, you're doomed and going to hell, and so is everyone you know. So you better come up with a new storyline. And she did, but she sent us, right? And we started to go over the Stations of the Cross. And I realized, wow, what I'm struggling with isn't the reality of this at all, right? Or the story. The story is beautiful. It is what? The truth of suffering, isn't it? The tribulations, the difficulties, the doubts, right? All of the things that we all confront, there they were for Jesus, just like they are for us all, right? There they are in the Stations of the Cross. We are betrayed, right? Well, we've all been betrayed. We are lied to. We've all been lied to. We're concerned about someone who doesn't take right action in their behalf or behalf of others, and we suffer it with, well, how do we work with, right? This is the same. And so it wasn't that. And so I really thought a lot about it, which is, where's my stick on this? What's the sticking point? And the sticking point is only this. If you don't believe, right, there's the stick. If you don't believe that Jesus is the Savior, you're damned. The only sticking point, not the story, not the truth of the story, not at all, right? There we are. We could read about Muhammad. We would say the same, wouldn't we? Which is, we know that. That's a part of being in this world. That's a part of being human. That's a part of it. And yet, when we become, right, when we close down, when we go, you have to do it like this in order. You got to bow like this. You got to sing like this. You got to chant like that. You got to pray like this. You got to, right? Then what do we notice? There now is some sense of exclusion. Not me, I call it. Not me. Not the truth of the story, because the story is true. It's our human story, isn't it? And it's beautiful. The story becomes the solution and what we demand. You have to believe this. You have to sit like this. You have to practice like this. You have to meditate like this. You have to pray like this. You have to dance like this. You have to not dance. You can't drink coffee. You got to, you know, whatever the whatevers. Yeah. Somebody's laughing back there. And by the way, we're laughing because that doesn't happen to be our belief, right? It doesn't just happen to fit in some context for us. Does that mean that all beliefs are bad? No. That isn't what it means, does it? I have beliefs, you have beliefs, we all have them. We're living them, by the way, every day. In our real life, one of the questions I ask are, what are the values and beliefs you're living with right now? What are they? It should be like this, women should be like this, men should be like this, teens should be like this. If I'm a good practitioner, I should be like, right? We bring that habit mind to us, and then also suffer, don't we? Because then when life doesn't match that belief, right? Oops, instead of inquiry, which is what we're invited to in the mindfulness traditions, inquiry, what's going on? Because, right, they're saying this is true. So how is it that this would be happening if those causes and conditions are here, right? That's inquiry is useful. How is it? Instead of that, we just reject often. Just no, does it match my reality? So it gets eliminated. And then, of course, what? We are prevented from the true nature, which is naturally inquiring, naturally wise, naturally compassionate. Because now we've got to cut it off to do what? Save our view. You get that? Saving our particular viewpoint. So does that mean you shouldn't practice root traditions? No, I hope you do. I hope you do. And then there would be only one thing I would add, that you do it for all beings, right? That whatever prayer from whatever tradition, whatever kneeling, whatever bow, whatever genuflect, whatever song you sing, whatever chant you chant, that you do it for all beings, not just those who are like you. And it's a bad habit, isn't it? Yeah. So I've already had this happen about 4 or 5 times where somebody said, oh, do you practice Easter, or do you go to a Seder? And I really want to just keep saying yes to every, like, yeah, Christmas or Hanukkah, yes, right, Ramadan, or yes, yep, in the way I do, right, in the acknowledging life, celebrating life, grieving also for life. And these are beautiful rituals in all traditions. I haven't been into a temple, a church, a synagogue where I was not moved. Not one. Because of the humanness of it for us all. So let's just be watchful of beliefs. And rather than hear the story of our humanness in every story, right then, the story of our humanness, of our vulnerability, of our suffering, and of our resilience. And that's the story, I believe, of Jesus and the crucifixion. We'll talk about it a little more. But the constriction that I asked everybody to be watchful for was right there. And I thought, what an opportunity to inquire into. What a real, here I am in this beautiful, amazing church with this beautiful music passed down throughout time. And then, right, like, wait a minute, it's not the truth of the story. And so it became really invaluable for me. And so I want you to open to all of that for yourself, particularly in this time when we can get sect-like, exclusive, separating. But we're all enjoying the beautiful, cool air of this spring morning. And so there is more that is the same, right? More in common, more in truth than, oh, this way. Or, no, he didn't do it like this. He did it like that. So I thought I would read. I'm going to see if I can't pull it up for you here. I haven't read this in a long time. I realized only after I pulled it up. Can everybody see that? Can you see that, Carrie? Good morning. This is Easter Blessing, by David White. Now, of course, David White, just like John O'Donohue, came originally from a Christian tradition. I say originally because they both came to the same conclusion as they practiced. And the conclusion was there was no distinction between one person believing in that good and the other believing. And that we believed in the potential for good was the whole thing. Not which guy with which beard and which robe, but just that we held that in some way together. So let's see what he has to say as he writes specifically about the beautiful story of Easter. The blessing of the morning light to you. May it find you even in your invisible appearances. May you be seen to have risen from some other place you know and have known in the darkness, and that carries all you need. He's talking about the resurrection of us all, isn't he? The resurrection of us when each moment, not just each morning, each moment, waking up, coming back in every morning. Wow, bing, here we are again, right? Instead of some kind of dream, we wake up from it and are once again arisen from the darkness. May you see what is hidden in you as a place of hospitality and shadowed shelter. May that hidden darkness be your gift to give. May you hold that shadow to the light and the silence of that shelter to the word of the light. May you join all of your previous disappearances. That's the sleep, right? We keep falling into ding, whoops, wake up, ding, wake up again. With the new appearance, this is the resurrection, this new morning, this being seen again, new and newly alive, right? All of us, isn't it? Isn't it all forgetting and remembering, falling into the dream, falling awake? Is it Jesus' story? No, it's our story, isn't it? And then we fell, and then we saw, right? And then we were arisen. That's the story. Who does this not apply to? Everyone, right? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter now, does it? Tradition, belief, whether it's Passover or Seder's, or, right? There it is. We fall, we recognize, we choose, or we don't choose, and then we are risen. And so I love this story, and I thought we would sit in that this morning, recognizing these aspects of us. We'll bring one to mind, but let's just sit, and we'll talk a little more. We're putting down our coffee, but I'm going to take a sip first. I'm going to pull this off the screen. Wonderful to see you all. Okay. We've been working on, and we began this in the retreat. We began this practice of really seeing if we can't first recognize the words, and that's not just spoken word, that's the words in our minds, often called thoughts, right? The most powerful karmic action, led then by words and deeds. But thought is understood, the most powerful karmic action. Every thought you think has an impact that is greater then you know, which is why resting in stillness and silence is essential for seeing what we call karmic imprint. And so we sit, feet in contact with the floor, the mat, feeling the sense of this body settling. And then in the momentary stillness, sensing once again the gift of this one precious breath. And we have a lot of spring birds out this morning. It's just a symphony. And rather than have to pick breath or sound or breath, especially if you're sitting in a place where that same thing is happening, seeing if you can't breathe out and open and include sound with the breath. And just settle the breath into the body. And as we said during our retreat practice, feeling the effects beneath the words. What impact is that bird song, that sound, that contact with whatever it is? Maybe it's your thoughts about the birds. Come back into the body, settle and soften the body, and feel the effects. This is the practice. And then we're just going to add one motivation to that method. And the motivation is, may it be of benefit, not only to myself, not only to my tribe, my sect, my group, my religion. May this very breath and all that it contacts in the Dharma that is lived, may it benefit all beings. So we're just going to practice with making contact with the breath, breathing out and open, making contact with whatever is arising there, sounds, thoughts, sensations. Coming back into the body, settling the body, and in the stillness, feeling the effect. This is where the vibration is often most made in contact. Right there at the end of the out breath. And my teacher used to say, now that the breath isn't moving, what else is moving? Be watchful of the habit for forcing the breath, for making it extra long or short. Let's see if we can't keep our sticky fingers off the breath and use it as our directional, expanding and opening on the in-breath. Coming home to the refuge of the body breath and feeling the effects on the out-breath. Notice where you've placed your attention to feel the effects. I'm not deep in the belly, I'm really resting between the heart and the belly. Just notice where your mind has gone to make contact with the truth of your experience. Is it the whole of the breathscape? A point within the breathscape? And just noticing, nothing to change. The challenge of including another sense object, by the way, you may be experiencing it already, uh, is that that mind is often yet not quite stable. You'll just notice whether it's true or not. And so it, rather than just make contact with sound or contact with cold or contact with a thought, it gets carried away. And just see if you aren't noticing that. And it looks like a tendency to hang on, a tendency to wrap around, a tendency to think other compelling thoughts. This is what David White called shadowed shelter, uh, getting caught in the grip, being carried away by the chatter of the unattended mind. And we want to not valence that as a bad thing or a wrong thing. This very noticing of the suffering is the point. And see if you can't come back and notice the contraction, a constrictedness. And by the way, something I've been catching a lot of this week is a certain striving, hunger, compelling, wanting. A seeking quality to the mind rather than a resting. If you notice you're being carried away by other objects, those sounds, thoughts, even sensations, you may decide to anchor in the breath alone. That's why it's here and available. Doesn't mean those things don't continue around you, but you don't use them as a part of the method. Not just yet. You come back to the breath, staying fully engaged with the in-breath and the out-breath. It is from this very staying, breath by breath, that we become highly tuned. We cultivate keen attention. Our bare attention becomes fairly precise. And so that we begin to notice subtler and even subtler shifts, sensations, activations, reactions, movement of mind. I just felt a very gentle breeze, as an example, crossing across my back. And I felt that little tiny squeeze of contractedness right in the front, right there in the heart space. I'm not making a story. I don't have to interpret. I don't have to decide if that's good or bad, right or wrong. The wisdom is in the knowing. And we soften the body in acknowledgement. We don't resist, refuse, struggle. There's no need to be some other way. Be watchful of this habit. We fall into the habit, like being locked in that dark cave, that tune. And then when seeing the truth, we awaken. Once again, arisen, whether you call that enlightenment, the kingdom of heaven, salvation, freedom. And then we see that every thought, every contraction in the body, every release has a story to tell, is a part of a greater whole, and can be held in awareness. And so Jesus, like the rest of us, kind of started his own spiritual bypassing by going, if I'm good enough, if I get it right enough, if I do enough miracles, if then it all works out. And that this is the path to the kingdom of heaven. And then right the big surprise. No matter how good, how righteous, how committed, there is the truth of this human life. It is impermanent, it is imperfect, it is unreliable, unsustainable. And it's not about you. And we do exactly as Jesus did, don't we? We scream, we cry. Right? Jesus, even in his wisdom, screaming out, right? Father, Father, how have you forsaken me? Why? And we do this, don't we, to ourselves? The mind wanders and we go, really? You can't just stay on the breath? We blame, condemn, and ultimately betray ourselves, don't we? Over and over. But in that moment, this is the path of awakening, of the arising, we can see clearly that the suffering is never in the impermanence. It is never in the beginning, the middle, or the end of the experience. It's in the mind that is clinging, craving, attaching, or rejecting. And then we begin again. And we all like to ask why. And that really is the second arrow, isn't it? If we're not careful. The why becomes blame, condemning, judging. And so we see if we can't let go of that to come back to the body and breath. We don't cultivate the story. And we rest once again in bare attention. Body like this. Breath like this. And as the mind stabilizes, we begin to see that it was never the objects themselves, it was never the experience that was the cause of suffering. Thoughts as thoughts, sounds as sounds. No problem. That it was, in fact, our essential resistance to the truth of this life. And then instead of screaming out, why is there this suffering? We begin to see its cause. And isn't it beautiful? The story is true. In that moment, we rise up and rest in the kingdom of heaven, no longer struggling. And then we naturally shine the light of wisdom and compassion, of love and equanimity, of a deep, abiding, unending joy. We shine it on everything. each moment to moment of awakening. Each breath, the path. Until the end of suffering and the realization of true abiding happiness and freedom. For all beings. So then one of the inquiries for us is, what are the stories we tell? Another way we could say that is, what do we believe? What are we buying into? And then the second inquiry always is it of benefit? Does it serve? Does it serve towards non-reactivity, towards non-separation, towards non-self, recognizing that all the gripping and all the clinging and all the what about me will not contribute to the end of suffering. In fact, is a path to suffering. And whether you have a tradition or practice, or how is it of benefit? How is it serving you? And just dropping in on this practice and this particular teaching coming from this tradition. What's true about it? It's very true. It's got a lot of right in it. It's got a lot of that mind. And I believe every tradition knows the truth of this and speaks to that in a particularly unique and somewhat acculturated way. So what did you notice? I'm gonna start with the group here because they're sitting in front of me and they can't get away from me.
So for me, I mean, every word of it was really true, and I have a very recent experience with that. My mom moved from assisted living to they did it, which really, and she needs to be. But what I noticed for me is that I was the one that had the most resistance, the most. I had the hardest time. She moved on Monday, packing up. It was whatever. Do you know what? She went from a 1 bedroom to a studio. I don't think she even knows she moved. But I suffered.
Yeah.
I suffered. It's they're liars. They were. They're this, they're that. The whole story around it. This floor, we wanted that floor, and this, and they put 3 people. We've been there. All the stories. We've been in there 8 years. We deserve to. All the stories just served to overwhelm me. Made me sick to my stomach. Have me crying. Even friggin'
Right.
know that she moved to a different floor, to a
Right.
different room. That furniture is different. And so, yeah, it's totally the resistance to what's regardless. And it's not, and it's moment to moment. Like it's not even a day of okay. And then within this half an hour, one way and then so and I saw myself doing it. And sometimes even seeing it, it's like you watch yourself go to the cliff and jump off.
Right.
Even though you jumped off them a million times, and yet you can't back up and go, wait a second. So, yeah.
No, you only got this second. Can anybody hear Cindy? She was talking about a personal experience with moving her mom, Roz, who we love, and the challenges of that, the suffering of that. And it's already difficult, right? Those aren't easy moments in the best moments, when everybody does it right, when they're all telling the truth, when, right? It's still difficult because what? There's impermanence written here, right? It's not going to be like it was. It's going to be something else. We don't know that something else yet. It speaks to all of our, it's an autobiography, isn't it? Of our own realities of impermanence and imperfect and, right? It's not going to be done your way because you deserve or think so, or right, even when it's right. And how we suffer. And the storyline, that's that second arrow story, right? Remember that one from the Buddhist tradition that says you get someone gets struck by an arrow, and rather than attend to the reality of being struck, is going, well, who did it? When did they do it? Why did they do it? Was it a person like this or a person like that? And rather than deal with the reality that's right in front of you, we just cultivate the storyline. It shouldn't have happened. It wasn't right that it happened. They shot the wrong person. Why did they shoot me? They should have shot the other guy, right? I'm going to shoot them. That's called the second arrow of suffering. And it is the truth of suffering. The other one is simply pain. Arrows hurt. They do. Moving mothers from one level of care to another hurts. It just does, doesn't it? It's painful. It's real. And then Cindy said it. We take the arrow and do the, and why? There was Jesus. Why? Why me? Why now? How come? Should have been better. Should have been different. They should have had the other guy. And what does he say? Who betrayed me? Who betrayed me? Who betrayed Jesus? This is the part we don't, right? It go when we don't like it, it's somebody did something wrong. Somebody messed up. Shouldn't be like this. It's true. We all do it, don't we? We do it in traffic. We do it with the tax bill. We do, wait a minute, who didn't pay that thing?
I didn't even know you were up. Probably didn't know I was up. Diana,
and then we move into our favorites, right? We move into blaming, shaming, condemning, judging self and other. This is one of the things we can control, can't we? We have some authority and agency. And when we recognize, as Cindy said, there I saw myself. There I am in the spin. Here I am crying. Here I am a wreck. And well, we can end the second arrow there, can't we? We don't have to go because I'm pathetic, I'm failed, they're horrible. We can just say, feeling like this. Ache in the belly, tight chest, crying.
So you're watching yourself jump off the cliff. Watching again. Hopelessness. The compassion for yourself that could relate to that. You know, watching and knowing that it's beyond, I mean, back to control, I guess. You know, you have to just surrender to dropping off the cliff and just experiencing.
And
countless
that's how
jumps.
that's
I
how
mean-
it went. It was like jumping and stopping and jumping and stopping.
That's right.
And in the end, the saddest thing was the fact, the thing that I was so upset about is that my mom would know and she would be so upset. And the sadder thing about that is that she didn't. And that I had to grieve in her mother all over. Realize that her mother would be a shot. You know, so it wasn't, thank goodness, because of this practice, I wasn't jumping every minute.
Get your food.
I saw it. And,
Okay,
I don't know if
coffee.
you could hear, but we're
biscuits. You
talking
want me to
about,
carry your coffee or you
can
got
we,
it?
even in the moments where we know we've
very
gone
talented.
sideways, right? Where we know we fell right on over, the default mode network took over. And there was many millions of times a day, right? We're awake and arisen, and then we're in the tomb. We're underwater. We're all caught up. And how many times a day? Somebody once asked, a Zen student said, what's the right number? What's the number of times? Right? Well, as long as you wake up one more time, then you fell. Isn't it? That's the number. 10 million, 10,000. We have different things on different days. Some days, right, just more present, more embodied. Often a day where things happen as we expected, predicted, and liked. We tend to be a little more available to see, right, those little moments of getting caught. And then there's the other day where the whole thing's so clustered, you can't hardly sort it out. But what is the practice then? What is the practice then? It's just going under. You're on the cross. This is it. There's no off. There's no get out of this. There's no other way. You're not, right? Then what do you do? Really? I'm in it. And I'm not getting out. Because eventually, right, we don't. There is the moment. Nobody's getting out. What do you do? The rain practice. Yeah. Recognizing where you are, that's a little helpful. Here I am, right? Just like this. Well, for how long? Just this breath. This is one of our habits, is to go, well, this suffering is just going to go on forever now, right? That's a mistake, right? But we do that. We assume that recognition means, well, I see that it's horrible. It's just horrible. That's actually not true. That's clinging. Hurtful, painful, tight, hot, this breath. And then what? Resurrected. We got to show up the next moment as open, as available, as unbiased, it says. You can't assume the next moment is the same, because in fact it isn't. Is it? It isn't. These are some of our habits. So when you've had somebody, like Cindy is saying as an example, not be authentic, not be honest, not tell the whole story, not right. And then it's very easy, isn't it, to solidify that and go, they're just liars. And now I've locked down there. They're just going to be liars. I can't say it's true or not true. I have to say, watch it. Because then we'll miss the moments where someone is honest or available or collaborative or cooperative or working with us. And by the way, we tend to help set the course for that. That's even scarier. Because we are relating to someone as if there is only. Doesn't mean you don't pay attention to a truth either. Right? It also means be watchful of this idea, both in you and in others, that it's always just like this. I have lied and I have not lied. It is true. I've been wrong and I've been not wrong. It is also true. I've been kind and I've been not kind. 100% true. Right? And so which day, which moment do you want to work with? Well, I'd say this one. Right? This one. And then see. Right? But be watchful of this solidifying. This is the nature of a part of our storylines and a part of our caught. Is that neighbor, that partner, that person, those people, and then we separate. And then me, right? And what are we saying? We're all in this thing together. We're all forgetting and remembering, aren't we? Continuously. It's continuous. I can't get over it. I am totally shocked by this. After a lot of years of practice, I can't get over what still comes out of my mouth. It's almost unbelievable. Like, I can't believe I was that snarky just right then. Like, in total years of practice. I went, "Rah, rah." Like, really? That's unbelievable. But what's the work? But can I stop the second arrow there? Can I stop this crucifixion there? Can I stop the storyline like you just should be getting it right by now? My God, it's been 30 years. You're hopeless. And just go, can I begin again? Can I feel for myself? And recognize my own suffering, my own pain, my own hunger, my own tired, my own frustration, my own fear. Oh, that would be helpful. Could I drop in on that? And could I offer myself something? That's that N in rain, isn't it? Can I offer myself something and begin again? And by the way, if you don't offer yourself something, the beginning again goes bad, doesn't it? So you better take time on that N in rain. You better go, what do I need right now in order to right the boat? That's what medi means in meditate, righting, putting back to balance, getting right back, right inward measure. What do we need? Right? And usually what I need beyond recognition, beyond acceptance, is a break. I got to take a step back. I got to get something for myself, usually nourish in some way. It can be slight and small and momentary. And sometimes I better take a 2-hour walk. It's all good news, isn't it? It's good news. Because no matter what else is true, I have not jammed the second arrow in for me. By the way, I don't know if you know this about the second arrow, but everybody you know is standing right behind you. And as you're pushing that thing in, right, it's killing everybody else too. Don't believe that it's only you. You're hurting everyone when you don't attend, when you don't recognize, acknowledge, right, and then offer for yourself. And if you don't see the constriction, you can't make the correct offer. And by the way, we are taught how not to see the constriction, how to plunge on through anyway, aren't we? We are. Like, don't pay attention. No, you're just supposed to be a giver, or you're just supposed to be the person who shows up, or you're just supposed to be. So we go, okay, I'll just dead walk this thing through, right? No, not too helpful, not of benefit. And we have been trained. We have been trained how to ignore our own experience, really. You know how I know? How do I know? How do I know we've all were caught in that? How do you know?
Now we can see it. Hopefully more often.
That's right. and you can feel it. Can't you feel it? Yes, you can. You can go, ow. Right? Every single time I sit, every single meditation, as long as I've been sitting there, every single one, there it is. Right? I'm not trying to get rid of that anymore. This is the good news. I'm trying actually to pay attention and then attend to it. This is even better. By the way, nobody's clapped for me. Have not got one clap. Nobody has gone, that's amazing. Your self-care is unbelievable. Nobody. Nope. Has never happened. What's happened is, really, you're going that way? Really? You're just not doing that? Really? And I'm, yeah, really. And I'm getting better and better at just honoring that truth, because then I can honor yours, can't I? And I can go, and it's okay if you can't. And it's okay if you've got a backup. And it's okay if you can't show up today and you need the break, the rest, the right. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah. And then we're friendly. That's amazing. We're friendly to ourselves, and we're not judgmental. We're not separating. We're not disconnecting from the people who are getting it wrong. Why? Because we were just there. We know how you get that angry, how you get that snarky, how you get that shut down, how you get that lonely, sad, whatever you are. We know. Well, how do we know? Well, because I was that. And I dropped in on that for me. So of course now I can be present to that in you.
I think a piece of the self-compassion of all this is something I've been everywhere of. Is when that happens and the second arrow's coming, and what I've been seeing is like, oh, here it comes. There I did it again.
Yep.
I'm like dodging it by cleaning my side of the street quickly. Hey, I know what I just did.
Yep. Yeah, apology is a beautiful, right? Even if it can't be direct, that we can say, in recognizing the truth of the suffering, may I free us all, right? That's the phrasing. In acknowledging the truth of suffering, my judgments, my opinion, may I free us all. And then how do I act now? Well, there's any infinite options, but at least now, right, I've done it for us both. Can I forgive myself? And by the way, I'm going to forgive you too, because there we all were, right? There's a psychological reality, by the way, folks. I'll tell it to you so that from now on, when you see it, you'll go, oh, there it is. However you're feeling, the other is feeling. However they're feeling, you're going to feel. Mirror neurons, right? And so when we're distressed, we're going to cause distress. We're going to see distress. We're going to make more distress. And when we're in ease, really what's amazing is actually, even in distress, you didn't get evidence for it. You're propagating that. Isn't that lovely? You're actually inviting that. Look at the power of that now. Really, isn't it amazing?
It pulls out itself too. For me, in my experience, then there's that. So it's not just saying it because I don't say it, I'm wrong because if I don't say it, it's like, oh, and I'm honest.
Right. And so the truth of suffering, the minute it's recognized, we're already somewhat released. That's the beginning. It's not enough. Recognition alone, not sufficient, by the way, don't fall there. It is not, because recognizing with judgment, with condemnation, with criticism propagates suffering, right? Doesn't it? All the mindfulness in all the world is not sufficient without compassion. That's why we're teaching it now. Because what did we realize? Well, we taught mindfulness and then people just beat the crap out of themselves in recognition. I'm failed like this. We already had the storyline. I'm failed like this. I'm failed like that. You're failed like this. You're failed like that. What good is this? Well, it isn't. It's necessary, but alone, it's not a very good stand-up. You want us what? I recognize and now feel for both you and me. And Brad said it. Well, what can I do about that? Well, the minimum is I can straighten up what I'm doing. I can stop condemning, stop judging, stop blaming, right? Stop criticizing, stop going into hopelessness, helplessness. I can do that. And right there, empowered, arisen, right? Whatever else I do. And by the way, I don't care. I already know it'll be better. People ask all day long, you know, how many phone calls I get going, what should I do about this? Right? What's the answer? Bring awareness and compassion to your own circumstance. Attend to that, and then let what comes come. That'll be useful. Right? Can you feel for yourself in this struggle? Because remember, if you're struggling, others are struggling too. In your clarity, in your ease, in your love, in your joy, others will also. Even when, I will tell you honestly, I haven't always trusted this, I have no evidence for it in the moment. They just look shut down. It's actually not true. They're just caught in their habit, just like we get caught in ours. But actually, does that mean the seed isn't planted, that there's not greater potential? No, in fact, I have that evidence as well. By the way, sometimes it looks like years later. It isn't just plant the seed, flower blooms, like we all would prefer, or I'll be nice to you, then you be nice to me. That's one of my personal favorites, right? I'll just say, I don't want to fight. And then you'll say, I don't want to fight either. Nope. Yep. That's spiritual bypassing, isn't it? I'm offering it to you because I want something different. I want something else. And actually I want you to be it. So right? Let's be nice. Let's be nice. You have to be careful. And so in our real niceness, Kelly's making a face, so I'm going to go ask her what that is. In our real kindness, think about it. In our real compassion, do we ask anybody to do anything differently? We do not. No, we don't. We just are it. There's the beauty of the teachings. We are it. We are collaborative. We are present. We are kind. We are. And you go, I don't know. Doesn't look like it's working. It is working. It's not working the way you wanted it to be, which is, and then I want you to be nice to me. Don't we?
If we recognize that somebody has a pattern that causes pain to themselves in their relationship with another person.
Yeah.
And we don't somehow point. I know, but then are we just ignoring what?
Yeah, it doesn't mean you don't take. So Kelly said, what if you really see harm happening? You see somebody caught in a cycle of lack of care for self, or right, and you don't address it. Well, of course you're going to address it. And she caught herself using the word pointed out to them. Yeah, not that helpful. Not that helpful, is it? So what's the right practice? You see the harm. What do you do? With care, with compassion, with love. How can I help you? Can I be a support to you? Is there anything I can offer? Now, usually when someone's in that habit nature, the answer is no, go away. And how dare you point to me and my issue? Because by the way, I think you got some issues too. Why don't you just work on yours? That's your side of the street, isn't it, Brad? Because the minute you get over there going, I'm going to help you, you have set something up, which is, I got it, you don't. Really? No. So I better be that, said Jesus, didn't he? You better be that. So you're worried about someone's self-care. You might want to be paying a lot of attention to your self-care. Huh?
Diane.
You talking to somebody about their eating Doritos? Well, you better stop eating your little Christmas chocolates and your little bunnies. Right? That's my story.
Diane, it's Robin.
Freaking egg. I got above the bottom of my list, because you can't go in and say, hey, I'm sorry, but.
Uh,
I'm like,
oh,
yeah,
it's true.
I'm like, I'll get to them way
Later.
I'm not ready for it.
Brad's talking about amends in the 12 steps and how it's very easy. It's so easy to go, I'm really sorry, but you're stupid. I'm really sorry, but you did it to me first. I'm really sorry, but it took me 8 years to finally get to this and you did it every day. I'm really right. I'm really sorry, but I'm not really sorry because I'm still actually blaming you for your suffering. Which is causing my suffering. For sure, isn't it? Me blaming you for your suffering is actually causing my suffering. And it's for sure. So it's really nice, isn't it? To just drop in on that. As long as I think the other is the ass, right? We know the slogan says what? Drive all blames into one. Recognize, what are you doing? It doesn't mean you have to put up with or tolerate or right allow. People aren't going to smoke crack cocaine in my garage, by the way. They are not. They're not. It's not going to happen. Right? You're not going to be here. You're not going to come into my house and steal. You're not, especially if I know you have a habit for that. It doesn't mean I don't care about you. It means I care about you enough not to set you or me up in that way. Right? But that's a lot of wisdom with a lot of compassion over a lot of time. And then we trust in the skill of that. Right? Not from condemning, just from saying, I know it's too hard. Right? So when we have people who have issues, speaking to this in our home, who have issues with alcohol, we don't drink. Right? That's compassionate. That's loving. That's kind. We don't have to set each other up in this way. And then since blame and shame are so easy to do, they're defaults. We have to be watchful, don't we, of how we do that to self and or other. And watch it. You're putting yourself, talk about Jesus and the cross, you're putting yourself back on that over and over again. Even when you're blaming another. Remember, if you're blaming another, and then we're going to sit, you are actually also blaming that quality in you. It isn't a one way. If you're condemning someone else for their anger, you're doing that to you. If you're condemning someone else for deception, you're doing that to you. And then you can't look at your own deception, can you? You can't look at your own anger. You can't look at your own habit. If you're going over there, then you better come back home, check in. And remember, we're continuously taking ourselves down off that cross over and over again. We recognized and practiced it today, didn't we? Over and over and over again. Can I do this without judgment, condemnation, criticism, self-hatred, ill will? Because this will not contribute with all the recognition in all the world to the end of suffering. It's bigger. I'm going to check in, make sure we're going to sit for a few more minutes. Anything else from the gallery out there? I've got Robin. One of the best ways for me to attend is noticing tension in my body. That's right. And then discover what I am feeling in my spirit: anger, joy, love, guilt. Yep, exactly right. I don't think we have to get all the way to spirit. We could stay right in the body. They're all telling the same story, by the way. Mind tells the truth of the body. Body tells the mind the truth of the mind. Any door is a good door. Any recognition is a good one. No matter what people told me, I stayed in an abusive relationship for 30 years because of my children, even when it caused me great suffering. Well, what we actually know is that it caused everybody suffering. That is its nature. You can't be in suffering without others suffering.
Yep.
You can't be in suffering without you suffering. So everyone suffered. And yes, we all come with those core belief thoughts. That's what we're examining, aren't we? the core belief thought that you stay no matter what, that you go into resentments and just shut up, that you, right? We all have those storylines, especially propagated by families and family tradition, legacy, and whatever they are. And by the way, mostly we don't recognize what's really happening. We don't even see it clearly. So we have to give ourselves a break too. We get clear when we do, and then we act skillfully and forgive ourselves again and again. By the way, the more we can forgive ourselves for what we could not do, we can forgive another
Hi.
for what they also
Oh,
do.
I knew there.
Not yet, not this moment. That's right. So get very forgiving, begin with yourself. I think it's pretty hard work. By the way. Yeah. Okay, let's sit together for just another minute. Finding the way back to the body. And remember, once we're in the body mind is one, not two. And so whichever portal you enter, remember you have access to the whole. We come into the body first because what? It cannot lie. It's always here. It's non-denominational. And the practice is free. You don't need special shoes. And we're breathing right into the heart space and practicing with that out breath, especially for after conversation where we can get all knotted up. If the mind was not in blame, was not in shame, was not in judging, was not in ill will, where would it be? How would it be? It would be wakeful, attentive, kind, compassionate, loving, patient, trusting, arisen, awakened. And so we greet the mind and body that is, and we invite the antidote. So you come in, you notice the tight chest. You don't press that open. You just notice the tightness and feel for oneself. For all those just like me who know this tight, armored, protected heart. And then we feel the effects of that treatment, of that method. Recognize and offer. And once again, awaken. And may we dedicate the merits, the blessings, all the good to the end of suffering and awakening. May we do so for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our neighbors, our friends, continuing to expand out again and again to all beings without exception, including yourself. May we all have happiness and the causes for happiness. May we all be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May we rejoice, be glad, and take delight at the preciousness of this very breath and day gifted to us. And may we make it a benefit. And may we rest in that big, open, infinite heart. Free from all affliction. Antidote to all suffering. Arisen, awakened. And may this practice, this very day, may it contribute, and may it continue. So be it. May you have a wonderful weekend, whatever you're doing. I think it's supposed to be pretty pleasant. Here, we're going to be putting in the garden this weekend. We're excited about that. I think the tomatoes won't freeze now, they're saying. So however you're choosing to spend it, remembering that if you are in distress, if any form of distress, may you take good care of yourself. May you acknowledge this as a difficulty and attend. Be mindful and compassionate about it. And then see the effects that that has not only for you, but for others. And that's where we rejoice. Yippee. Suffering ending here. Right. So good to see you all. Yes. Wherever you are. I look forward to being with you guys on Tuesday. We will be going through the full chapter 1 of real life. There are going to be several things. The 11th is where Sharon Salzberg will be doing interviews, and there's a summit workshop she's got related to the book as well. It's all a little too expensive. I have to say, I'm noticing like, this is feeling like a lot of
Hey, Di.
To me, but I think the wisdom we have here will be sufficient. We'll catch whatever is free out there. They do that too. And just keep knowing that we are all in this together, right? And we have the wisdom as well. You don't just have to pay for it. You just have to be it. Brenda, good to see you as well. Yes, Dennis, be well, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Yes.